Welcome back to Talking Trash. This is your host, Mihir. This week's podcast is all about mindfulness, meditation, and yoga. We also find out a little bit more about Gamo, Farani, Tomlin, who's our guest this week. If you've been enjoying these podcasts, please leave a like and don't forget to follow for more podcasts like such. And now, to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast to all the listeners listening to Talking Trash. This is your host, Mihir, and I'm here with Gamo. Did I get that right? I tried the second.
You did.
I know. I tried.
Yeah, well done.
It's
a tricky
easier
name.
once you try practicing it.
Yeah, I think when I explain how you say it, it's easy. But when you just see it written down, I think people are like, "Oh my gosh,
I
what
can
is
relate
that?"
to that. My name isn't the easiest to get either. I've had people call me all sorts of names.
Yeah.
Starting from like Mahar to Madar, and it goes all over the place. So I get what you mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely understand what that's like. Sometimes, you're just like, parents, why did you choose this name for me? It's like made my life
Mark
so difficult.
or David or something. That's super generic.
I know, something easy.
And not throwing shade on anyone who's called Mark or David. I do apologize. I hope I don't offend anyone though. Gamo, tell us a little bit about yourself. So, what do you do? Where are you from? All that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Gamo. I'm 30. I teach in classes online. I grew up in Auckland, New Zealand, but I've spent a lot of my life living in different countries and different places around New Zealand. So I seem to have ended up moving every 2 years. That seems to be my general pattern, which was completely unintentional, by the way, that it's just how my life seems to have panned out. I've lived in lots of different parts of New Zealand. I've lived over in the UK, in Australia, and I've spent a lot of time traveling as well. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm back in New Zealand while all this kind of craziness is going on with coronavirus. I actually live in Sydney. So my apartment is still in Sydney and all my belongings are still in Sydney. But I'm just here in Auckland while we're going through lockdown, so I can be close to my family. And so what I'm doing with my work is just teaching online yoga and meditation classes. And I have free classes through my Instagram account. And then I teach through Zoom as well. Which has been quite a learning experience for me, having to go online, because I love to teach in real life. I love, being with people and creating like an experience for people. So it's very different having to teach online and just be in a room on your own and not always be able to see your students and see what they're doing and not feel connected to them in the same way. So that's a little bit about me.
And for those who don't know, me and Gamo have just done a 10-minute Instagram live on her Instagram channel, Simply Live Well Yoga. So you should go check that out as well. No, I'm just indicating, you could go check that out.
But go check it out.
You said that you've actually traveled all across the world, so you're well traveled. Which country did you like the best?
I think for me, just because I'm such a big yoga meditation person, any kind of Buddhist country is very appealing to me, but also I feel really connected to those sorts of places. So I love Sri Lanka. That is, I guess, like my spiritual home in a way. But lots of parts of Southeast Asia feel quite similar. I love kind of Asian countries and the culture and the people and the food and the lifestyle. And they're just such special places.
So you said you kind of do yoga and meditation and stuff. So what got you started into it? What got you interested into all that sort of thing?
I guess initially I did the two quite separately. So I started doing meditation when I was 18 years old, and I was in my last year of high school, and it was a really, really stressful year for me. I just had a lot of responsibility at school that year and within my family, and I had I'm like a real go-getter, so I put a lot of pressure on myself to achieve many things that year, and got really, really stressed. And my mum, she had used meditation for years to kind of help her with her stress. So she initially taught me meditation. And then when I got into yoga a few years later, meditation kind of comes hand in hand with yoga. So I began practicing yoga from the age of 22, so 8 years ago. And I guess I was in Cambodia at the time, and I went and just lived in the middle of nowhere, really. It was a farm just outside of Siem Reap, and I went and stayed in like a little kind of yoga retreat center. It was very, very basic. And the guy who ran the place taught me yoga and meditation kind of properly there. So that was my first introduction to yoga. And then I wasn't really committed to it straight away. I kind of dabbled with it on and off for a few years, and really only used it as a way to keep my body fit and flexible. So it was definitely more to do with vanity and fitness rather than like the kind of mental aspects of it and the spiritual aspects of it. But when I was 25, I went through another quite stressful time. I had really bad anxiety and depression. And one of the things that I decided to do to help myself get through that was to commit to going to yoga every day. So I did that for about 2 months, going every morning and every night, like 7 days a week. And just through doing that kind of physical yoga practice, I really got into it. And then I really got into the meditation and all the kind of other aspects that come with yoga as well. And it completely changed my life. It really helped me to deal with my anxiety and depression, and then to kind of heal me from that. And so I've just carried on since then, and I obviously don't practice like twice a day, 7 days a week anymore. At the time I did, because that's what I needed to help myself heal. But I with my teaching, quite often I'll teach a couple of classes a day, so I will still have to practice quite a lot. But in my own time, I always have like my own kind of yoga and meditation practice as well. And it just is something that I use to keep myself well, and to keep myself, feeling good and able to stay focused on like kind of what I want to do with my life as well.
And you hit a good point that when you're in when you get into that age of 18, 19, when you get to start to kind of become an adult, you're transitioning from being like a teenager to becoming a young adult. It is quite stressful, isn't it? And also, and absolutely throughout your first 10 years of like being an adult. And to be completely honest, I'm 22 and I'm still kind of becoming an adult. I wouldn't consider myself fully an adult either. So I'm transitioning into that phase as well. So yes, I completely agree with you that there's a lot of stress going around. You're still trying to what you want to do in life. I'm sure there are other factors that play a part on anxiety and depression and all those sort of. So how do you feel that? How do you feel, we've got all these, studies and stuff saying, you should do mindfulness and you should do yoga and help. So what kind of things did you do in terms of like meditation and stuff that helped you? Was it more about focusing on yourself? Was it something else that you did that made you kind of,
so many things, so many things. I mean, meditation is such a broad subject. And I guess for me, when I first really committed to getting into meditation, so again, when I was 25 and I made that decision to do yoga a lot, I also made the decision to do meditation like throughout my day, because mentally I was in a really bad place and I needed something to hold on to and to give me strength and to kind of guide me out of that. So, I mean, I didn't have any kind of meditation teachers at the time, apart from my yoga teachers who would do a little bit of meditation with us. So I had to resort to going online. And I basically just every morning when I woke up, and then every day when I got home from work, and then every night before I went to sleep, would go onto YouTube and I would listen to a guided meditation. And that's how I first got into meditation. It had to be guided because my mind was so busy that I couldn't just, sit and do my own like silent meditation practice. There's no way that I would have been able to stick with that. And I didn't really know what I was doing as well. So having a guided meditation was really helpful because you can choose what kind of guided meditation you want to do. So like, for example, whether you want to do one to help with anxiety or to help you with self-confidence or to help you to let go of things holding you back, or, so you pick kind of what you want to do and then you sit there or you lie there and someone will guide you through this meditation. So that was a really great place for me to start. And then the more that I got into it, the more curious I got about other forms of meditation. So I started going to meditation classes, as well as just experimenting with different styles of meditation. So, there's like mantra meditation where you repeat like a phrase or a word or a sound over and over to yourself. There's obviously silent meditation. There's mindfulness meditation where you're becoming very just really present in your experience right now, and you're using all of your senses to really allow yourself to experience that moment, to calm your mind and to detach from your thoughts and really become aware. Just so many different kinds of meditation. So I did my own research. I read blogs about meditation. I watched loads of YouTube videos. I listened to podcasts about meditation, and went to like a Buddhist center to learn Buddhist meditation, and also a Chinese style of meditation. So I guess what I was trying to do was find the version of meditation that works best for me and that I could do every day and that would work for me as well. And I mean, it can seem really overwhelming at first when you don't know anything about it. So I'd recommend to anyone who feels like meditation is something they want to try, but they're not sure where to start, is just pick one place that you can turn to try, and then choose one thing to do and just make it really easy, make it short, and just give yourself a couple of weeks to do it every day and just see how you feel after that. Just like, don't overcomplicate it, make it easy and make it doable for you.
And I guess the other question that kind of I wanted to follow up with is, there's a common misconception that some people feel, when you start meditating, it's like a magic pill and it all goes away. What do you have to say to that?
I mean, I wish that were true. I think the thing that I've learned through meditating over the years is that it gives you strength to be able to cope with hard times in a better way. It definitely doesn't take away your problems. It doesn't take away bad things from happening to you or from you thinking about negative things or experiencing negative emotions, but it gives you the ability, I think, to cope better, to be more grounded in your day, so that whatever happens to you, you can still, take it from a place of strength rather than immediately reacting to something or taking something the wrong way or, listening to negative thoughts or believing negative things about yourself. It's definitely not an instant fix. I don't think it ever fixes anything completely, but it's a strength and it's a tool that you can use to get through life in not an easier way, but a way where you're just more grounded, and you're more aware, and you're more kind of in control of how you choose to react to the world, I guess.
And to be perfectly honest, I've been guilty of actually trying meditation and not having it not work for me and completely letting it go because I thought it was just a bit of, it didn't work for me, it's not for me, that sort of thing. But I think I might give it another go from now on, trying to focus more on something that works for me and kind of trying it on and, letting it run for a little bit. And I think most people would kind of feel that, sometimes they just don't have the time. But, sometimes, it only takes about 5 minutes, isn't it? Because I read somewhere that, 5 minutes a day is more than enough to kind of just get your mind settled. And obviously you do want to start out with a little bit longer and more frequent, like you said, but then going on, I think, would you say that you can kind of develop a schedule where you can kind of just focus, 5 minutes anytime during the day, and that would,
completely.
And I think that's really important, though, isn't it? Just to get your mind settled, because obviously, there's a saying that it's a saying in Hindi actually. I'm not sure if you know, but it's called an empty mind. I'll translate it for you. Essentially, it just means an empty mind is the devil's playhouse sort of thing, where if you're not focused sort of thing, and if you're not focused, things can pop up, and then the anxiety sort of starts building up. You start to overthink, and So I completely agree with you in the sense that if you do start and try meditating for a little bit, it will eventually help you deal with things. It's not a matter.
Yeah, and the thing is, like everyone will benefit from meditating. Like, even if you feel like, nothing ever phases you and you're always fine, and it's like developing the tool of using meditation today will help you in the future when maybe you go through a hard time, or you are really stressed at work, or you don't know how to deal with a certain emotion. It's honestly, something that everyone should do. And I think everyone can do as well. It's like you say, it's just finding the version that works for you, and then making the time to do it. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, like we can always find 5 minutes a day just to take this time for ourselves to settle our mind and to try and empty the mind and to develop that inner strength and reconnect to yourself.
So moving on from meditation and yoga, who are your sort of idols that you kind of look up to in times of kind of stress and anxiety and stuff? Do you have any?
I have so many.
We've got time. You can cover as many as you'd like.
In terms of personal development, one person that I love and who everyone knows is Tony Robbins. I think he's incredible, not just because of the work he does for people and their mindset and helping them to maybe move from a place they don't want to be into the life that they would love to be living. He gives back so much as well to people. So he's got this project where he feeds people, and so a lot of the money, so it's a whole completely separate charity organization, and this charity is all about feeding people. So I think he's very inspirational because the work he does, is so important, but then he also gives back to people as well. In similar ways, I get a lot of inspiration from like Oprah, particularly with her podcast, Super Soul Sunday. I love to listen to that because she, again, is very interested in personal development and spiritual development and, trying to be a good person. So she interviews some really interesting people on there, and they're all very different. So you get a really wide range of perspectives and a really wide range of topics as well. And then moving away from personal development, I get a lot of inspiration from people who are really in line with, the person that they are, and they just go out and they do something with it. So like, for example, musicians and artists and writers and business owners. So anyone who,
do podcasts
has an idea of something. Exactly. Podcast people, people who have a passion for something and they want to put it out into the world, not because they want to make loads of money from it, but because this is the thing that lights them up, and it's the thing that they're passionate about and they want to share with other people. And a lot of the time, it's so much hard work, and you don't earn a lot of money from this stuff sometimes. And you work 7 days a week and things like that. But I find that passion and that drive and that, so inspiring. So I guess it's a very broad ideal to have. But
and I guess it's about happiness, though, isn't it? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just kind of thought of kind of focusing on what you said about, you've kind of idolized people who kind of go out on their own, doing what they're passionate about. Eventually, what you'd look for is happiness, though, isn't it? Yes, you do eventually do get some sort of money that people do make out of all these things, but I don't think that's what they're chasing. I think what they're chasing is their happiness of creating music or creating film or doing radio, RJing or DJing or whatever. I think that all is happiness, though, isn't it?
Exactly. And you're right. Like people, they start out doing this because they love it. And then eventually you do start earning money from it. Not always a lot of money, but the money is like kind of the last reason why these people choose to do it. And it's such a different mindset to that kind of the culture that we grow up in here in the Western world, where it's more focused on, doing something which you don't necessarily love, but will earn you more money. So I really admire anyone who kind of breaks out of that mold and goes after those things that, they're really, that do bring them happiness. Yeah. And then I guess the last person I would want to mention who is an idol for me is my yoga teacher. He's a Sri Lankan yogi, and he is just the loveliest, most knowledgeable person. And, he is very selfless. He does a lot of yoga and healing and stuff for free. He helps a lot of people. He works really hard to look after his family. So he's a really great example for me of how you put something out into the world, not necessarily just for your own benefits, but to help other people as well, and to be a good person. So
absolutely, yeah. I do actually just want to go back into the when you said how we were talking about kind of breaking off and not earning a lot of money and kind of appreciating people moving away from kind of chasing money. But I think the other thing that we've got to be aware of is maybe some people, their happiness comes with money as well. So people who are still kind of going after their, chasing money sort of thing, if that brings them happiness, I think I'm just as happy for them as well as I am happy for people chasing their passion. So it really depends on,
completely.
So it does depend on, what brings you happiness, and you kind of keep following that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point to make. We're all so
Absolutely.
different. So at the end of the day, what you choose to do, and if that's what brings you happiness, whatever it is, then that's great. I have no issue with people making money.
I thought we just wanted to make sure that we're not saying that people chasing money are bad and people doing their passion are good.
No, not at all.
Making it very clear that whatever makes you happy, you follow your dream, you do what you love, and whatever brings you happiness is the thing that you should be doing. And people don't necessarily always have their perfect road to their dream. There are ups and downs, and you're going to face issues, and that's sort of part of life, though, isn't it?
Exactly. It's just the journey. And just going back to meditation and yoga, if you have those as tools which you use during that journey, especially during the down times, it's a really great thing to have as a support there.
So on a more lighter note, I wouldn't really call it light because of the COVID situation, but what do you do during the day that keeps you busy? Because I know we're not really allowed to go out during the lockdown period. So what do you get up to during the day?
So I have quite a routine, which is good because I've been in isolation on my own for the last 4 weeks. So I think if I didn't have my routine, it would have been a bit of a struggle to get through. But so I teach free yoga and meditation classes every morning, just on my Instagram for anyone who feels like they need access to something like that. So that kind of gets me up in the morning, and I have my little morning routine of, having my coffee, and then I teach these 2 classes, and then I spend the rest of the morning planning classes for either paying clients or the free classes for the following day. And then I usually spend a bit of time outside, so just going for a walk. My apartment here in Auckland's in the CBD, so it's quite cool to be close to the water, so I can just go down and have a little walk by the water. And then in the afternoon, I do a little bit of work on my business, usually, whatever that means, whether it's like sending emails or working on the website or business plans. And then I try to finish up so that I don't have to do anything in the evening. And then I might have like a class or 2 to teach in the afternoon. And then evenings are usually like my time. So I spend time cooking and like FaceTiming my friends and my family and watching TV and maybe reading or listening to music or just doing anything for me. So that's kind of how I spend my days. I also try a couple of times during the week to have like a whole block of time, so maybe like 2 hours where it's like self-care time for me. So I put everything aside and I do like a face mask, and I like read a book that I really want to read, or I watch something on YouTube that I really want to watch. I do basically whatever I feel like for those couple of hours, and just really let myself feel like I'm looking after myself. That's so
important though, isn't it? Like you do have to look after yourself, because in the end, you've only got one life. You do have to look after yourself.
Yeah, and also make sure that when you're looking after yourself, it makes you feel good as well. And I don't want to sound, like sexist or anything, but I know for a lot of like females, like we really enjoy that process of doing hair masks and face masks and painting our nails and stuff like that. So, like for me, I still love doing those things. So I do make time for that, so that I feel really good, even though it's not like I'm going anywhere or I'm, going out for dinner to see anyone. But, just that little act of self-care and pampering makes you still feel like you're living kind of normally.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. So how does Auckland City look like? Because I live further away from Auckland, so I haven't actually left. I haven't been to the city in almost 6-ish months. So how does it? Yeah, because ever since I graduated, I've been working away from the city, so I haven't had the chance to come back. But so how does it look like at the moment with the lockdown and everything?
It's so strange. It's like a ghost city. This week I've noticed way more people around, but the first couple of weeks were so eerie. Everything was just, there were no cars, there were no people. I would go out, to walk for 20 minutes each day, and quite often I'd be the only one that I would see. I live pretty close to the big countdown in the city. So, quite often you'll see people there, but even that's strange, because everyone's having to line up with the social distancing, and everyone's wearing their face masks and their gloves and stuff. So it's very different to my memories of living in Auckland when I lived here last.
And I think we will also get back to that point at some point in the future. Although I do, like you said, I do notice a lot more people walking around in the cars and stuff, traveling to and from work. In the last week or so, I've been noticing a lot more people on the motorway as well, which is slightly concerning at this point in time, as we're still in lockdown. But I'm really hoping that people do understand and start, being very aware of why they're going up. Obviously, the saying don't go out because you would need groceries and stuff. But again, it's just being very mindful of the situation as well. And exactly. I think we're just coming to the end of the podcast. So I think the one last question. So the question is, if you had to put out something for the podcast listeners and stuff, what one tip would you give them in this period of lockdown that might help them kind of with their anxiety or even in general?
That's a really good question. I guess the one thing that I would say out of everything, because there are so many things I feel like I would recommend, but and this is what I've been doing throughout my lockdown, is taking that time to meditate whenever I feel stressed or overwhelmed by things or anxious about things. And like, I feel these things every day because obviously the situation we're in is so uncertain, and I mean, we don't know what kind of world we're moving into next. So, I think that's a really common experience for people daily at the moment. So as soon as I feel any of those things, like, firstly, I recognize that I'm feeling that way. And so I stop what I'm doing, and then I just take some time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and I go and I sit somewhere usually on the ground, which is a really helpful thing to do, because when you feel the ground beneath you, instantly you feel a bit grounded. And then I just go into usually like taking some deep breaths, and then just being really mindful of where I'm sitting and like noticing everything about that situation. And then I usually just close down my eyes and do some kind of meditation, and it usually is 5-10 minutes. But what I found is, if I don't acknowledge those anxiety feelings or those stress feelings, and I just carry on with what I'm doing, they get worse and they get worse, and then they build up. And then like, I might get to the end of my day like super stressed, and then I'll be like, okay, well, I need a glass of wine while I cook dinner tonight, and then so I'll drink a glass of wine to deal with the stress, instead of like dealing with it when I first experience it, and then being able to let it go and then just carry on as normal. So I guess it's acknowledging your feelings in the moment, and then trying to give yourself the support to like acknowledge and process those feelings in that moment, and then hopefully allow yourself to let them go. And if they don't go, also knowing that that's fine. Like, these feelings might just stick with you for a couple of hours or for a couple of days, however long, but just, having that practice of trying to be with those feelings and to try to process them and move on from them, rather than holding them on and just getting to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't deal with it, give me the wine, or like, I'm going to comfort eat tonight, or I'm going to do something which I know isn't good for me.
No, but I think that brings us to the end of the podcast, though. So thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, Namor.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
It was really great having you and talking about meditation and yoga, and also giving us a bit of background on your experiences and stuff. And I'm sure it will be really helpful for the listeners out there.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, listeners. Thank you for listening in, and we'll be back next week with another podcast. Cheers. Stay safe.